Hello, and welcome to the Rebecca Florida Show. With us today is Joan Levy Hepburn, an artist. She is a painter. She is a color expert. We are at her home, and she's going to tell us all about her career, her workshops, and what made her paint. How did she begin her life in painting? Joan, I want to thank you very much for giving me the opportunity to be in your home.
Welcome.
You want to tell the audience, number one, tell us about your color expert career. What is being a color expert person?
I've always had a fascination with color, but when I was in my early 20s, I found out that there was an actual use for it to earn a living. So I became an expert in color separation, and my specialty is in doing reproductions of paintings for museums and galleries. So basically, any color in the visible spectrum can be broken into yellow, magenta, cyan, and black in a dot pattern. But when I see color, I name it numerically. Most people say, oh, it's a pinch of this and a little bit of that, but I actually name it numerically. So when I go to a museum or a gallery to look at a painting, I see how it's made, how it's layered, the feeling of it, the texture of it, the creation of it, and match the colors as well as convey how the painting was made. And try to get it as close as possible to the original as you can with something printed. Obviously, it'll never be as good as the original, but
is that a long process?
If you do it correctly, it should be a very simple, quick process. And I always say that the shortest number of moves to checkmate is usually the best way to go, because the more you mess around with it, the worse it gets. So I try to find the most direct way and simplest way to identify the palette.
I'm an artist, and I didn't know there was such a thing as being a color expert. Did you know that, or is that something you wanted to become, a color expert?
I had no idea.
You stumbled into?
I had no idea what it even was. When I was a child, I lived out in the country and I didn't have access readily to museums, so I had to rely on my parents' coffee table books of paintings. And I would look through the books and I would say, well, I don't know why everybody thinks that is so great. It doesn't look that good to me. And then I would finally see the original one in the museum and I'd say, well, no wonder. It didn't look anything like the one in the book. And I could never understand why. And then completely by accident, I ended up taking a tour of a printing company through the color department and found out why that happens, and then realized that there was no excuse for it, so I made it my pet peeve to do it better.
Did you always have a fascination for art?
Yes.
Always?
From birth.
From birth. Usually you end up finding that you have a fascination maybe in your early toddler years, but wow.
No, I remember lying in a crib on my back, watching the sunlight come into the room and make patterns and move across the room, changing the color of the walls and making patterns in the room. And I would just sit there and watch it go by. And I think that was when I started painting.
Wow.
When I was just watching it with my eyes.
Yeah. So did you have a mentor?
I did.
During your learning process?
Yeah.
Okay.
Willem de Kooning was my mentor, the abstract expressionist painter. And I met him by accident also. He saw one of my paintings hanging on the wall and liked it and said, well, if you ever need any advice or anything, just call me. And we started this friendship that lasted for a long time. And he really became sort of like a second father to me and raised me as the painter within me.
Tell us a little bit more about your art. What do you like to paint?
I have always been a landscape painter. I think my mother was the person who really instigated that, because she was the den mother for the Cub Scouts. And when I was a toddler, she took me on woods walks with the Cub Scouts. So I have written in my artist statement that I started painting when I was the height of a cinnamon fern. I've always just been very connected to the landscape, not the seashore. The water doesn't do anything for me, but being in the woods and in the mountains is what I really like.
What don't you like about the water
It's just
versus what you like about the woods?
I know that a lot of people look out at the water and they feel soothed by it, and it gives me a tremendous anxiety attack. It's like looking into nothingness.
I never thought of it that way.
And I can't make any sense out of the movement of it, or it's a formless substance to me. I like very structured form. And when I paint in nature, in the landscape, I'm not so much painting the pictorial imagery as I am the underlying structure. And that, to me, is a kind of a meditation. And when I focus on that, it's very soothing. And you also see the big picture of all the interrelatedness of everything in nature. And when I teach painting and drawing to people, I teach children and all ages up into as long as people are able to do it. I teach them how to see those structures, because it gives people a serenity through the meditation, and it also shows the interconnectedness of everything in the world. And I think that when people realize that everything is interconnected like that, it promotes peace in the world, because there's no reason for people to hate each other or have strife, because we all come from the same thing.
So you feel that the world outside, the nature, it's a connection to humanity.
We're all part of it. You see structures in the microcosm and the macrocosm that repeat each other, abstract forms and structures. And the human brain, the human body has similar structures. Everything is made to work together.
It's so perfect.
It is perfect.
It's so perfect.
And that's the part that amazes me when I draw and paint, is finding those structures and the connectedness to everything.
So what else do you like to do other than paint?
I love walking in the woods, and I really love horseback riding through the woods. That's
one for me.
That's really living.
Okay.
And here in the Killingworth area, I think there's about 65,000 acres of state forest. So the greatest thing in the world is to take a horse out into the woods and just go flying.
Flying. Okay. I know you play the guitar.
Yeah. I'm a blues guitar player.
And you've been playing the guitar since?
I wanted to play the guitar since I was 7, but it became a reality when I was 10. My maternal grandmother had a steel string Gibson, and I was visiting her, and I asked her if I could borrow her guitar, and she showed me 3 chords, and I think I played House of the Rising Sun until my fingertips bled.
Not a dollar, not a nickel, not a penny to my name. I was the queen of Fat City, but I'm out of the game. A nickel up, a nickel down, another nickel gone. Ain't got a nickel left to carry me on. If I ever get back on my feet, I'll move from Saturday Alley up to Sunday Street. Well, my hands are shaking and I ain't feeling well because of 5 years with him and living to tell. But little that make sevens all the time. I'm gonna be living on loving and wine. Wanna change my scent so he loses my tracks, and have 6 German shepherds so he never comes back. Gonna move where the living is sweet, from Saturday Alley to Sunday Street. Well, everybody says I'm talking out of my head, but nobody bad mouths a girl with a bread. All the boys are gonna drop their drawers and say, hey, there goes the girl who mugs Santa Claus. Well, it pays to be discreet when you're talking to the queen of Sunday Street. Not a dollar, not a nickel, not a penny to my name. I was the queen of Fat City, but I'm out of the game. A nickel up, a nickel down, another nickel gone. Ain't got a nickel left to carry me on if I ever get back on my feet.
Tell us a little bit about your workshops. I know you teach paint. Actually, you have retreats at home, at your
I do.
home. Is this something you do on a monthly basis, on a weekly basis? What made you do retreats at your own home?
In 1984, I bought this piece of property, which is a deeded nature preserve, and created everything that you see here. There was nothing here. So
When you say created,
the driveway, the house, the landscaping, everything that you see here was not here. I made it look like it's been here for a long time, but nothing was here. So basically what I did was I cleaned up what was here by what I call getting rid of the visual unwanteds and just letting the pure, beautiful forms emerge. And it's been a very long process. And I decided about 4 years ago to turn it into a study center so that I could share it with other people, and so that it could also be a life for me, to support me. So I'm creating my own job and position in the world, and a place to interact with people. Because I could live in a little cabin in the woods, but I'd be a complete hermit.
and it wouldn't bother you, I bet, right?
Well, it's just not good to be a complete hermit, you know. It's better to interact with the world. So this gives me a place where I can do that. And, you know, having people come and share music and drawing and painting it. So people with wonderful ideas and talents and interests in the landscape or environment or any of the arts, dancing, anything, can come here and work on a project or take a class or hold a class.